you doing, guys? My employers are clueless when it comes to hiring people. They just don't know how to do it. They take people at face value, that they know what they're doing. And the thing is, you really can't. They don't know how to call for references. I'm big on that. Find out their background, where they come from. We have had nothing but drama for the last 2 months. And nobody ever lasts. Sometimes they'll last 2 weeks. Other times, maybe a few days. We've got one idiot who is still there by the skin of his teeth that I want gone. They decided they're going to get me some help in the kitchen. Can you please hire somebody that knows what they're doing, I said. Well, he said, okay, do you believe everything you hear? He is terrible, no experience whatsoever. I could tell that by watching it, and I could tell by the lingo he used. He didn't know what he was doing. Well, they finally agreed, and they pulled him out. They put him somewhere else. That didn't last long either, because for some reason, we're always short money. Last week, I came in. Now, I get to work about 4:30, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. I go into the store. The place is full of smoke. I ran into the kitchen. I didn't know what was going on. Turned the lights on. All the equipment was turned up full blast. Now, he wasn't even working the kitchen, but he had worked the night before. I exploded. I looked at the flat top. It was black. The oil was bubbling, so I turned everything off, and I just had to cool down. Now, he came in a few hours later. We had it out. I sent him home. Don't want to see him. And I told the boss, I says, I do not want to see him in this effing building again. He had blown smoke up my boss's dress, and my boss believed it. He said, well, he said he knew what he was doing. And I says, yeah. Just because I say on a mail I can fly jets, does that make me an airline pilot? No, it doesn't. Well, we keep him out of harm's way. We have him do little ridiculous things. Personally, I'd like him gone. But I have noticed that some people come in a little overconfident, and they're the ones that very rarely last. Most people on average, have you noticed, when they start a new job, for the first few days, especially the first day, they're very, very timid. They may know what they're doing, but they may not know your procedures, so they get a little gun shy as far as jumping in. And some people, you can see where they have talent, so you kind of work with them. As the weeks progress, they get better, and they soak it up like a sponge. And then you start to think, wow, they're pretty damn good. As time goes on, they start building confidence. I've seen many cases where management had taken note of this. And they said, well, this person's going to move up real fast. Sometimes they move people up too fast and not really in the job where they should be at. See, they may be confident and good at what they do. Upper management decides to move them into a management position. And in all honesty, not everybody is cut out for a management position. Guys, hold on. I got to get me some more coffee. Sorry, guys. I have seen this more than once. You move people into a management position and the power goes to their head. What was confidence is now replaced with arrogance. Their subordinates, which were formerly their co-workers, they may have liked the person at one time, but they start to know how arrogant they get. They start to feel as though their toes are getting stepped on. They're making comments that are uncalled for. And even upper management may start to notice it. They let it go for a while. They may speak to the person. But eventually, this person starts making comments publicly, whether to the staff, customers, or out and about, or on social media. Upper management's like, this person's hurting our business by some of the things they're saying. Well, they may pull them aside and say, kind of cool it down. But the unfortunate thing, when somebody's on the job for so long, in a lot of cases, they feel as though they're irreplaceable. They're not going to fire me. What are they going to do? They can't get rid of me. And in all honesty, everybody's replaceable. Well, this person may push it to the limit, and finally management has got to pull them aside, so we've got to get some distance from this person. Now they realize every time you fire a person, you're taking chances, because they're going to now start talking publicly, bad-mouthing the place of employment and telling the little inner secrets, what actually goes on there. And in all honesty, upper management doesn't want to deal with that. So they try to soften the blow. They don't come out and say, you're an asshole, you're fired. Well, some people do, but you really can't do that anymore. But they may try to soften the blow. It says, you know, this really isn't cut out for you. It's time for you to move on to bigger and better things. It never works, but they try it anyways. Well, this person, you're firing me? Yes, I'm afraid we have to let you go. Well, the person will argue tooth and nail. Now, I'm sorry, but when you're let go from a job, there's nothing you can say, because the decision's already been made. You may as well just put your best foot forward, grab your stuff, and go, because you're not going to change their mind. Well, this person may go on social media and bash them. They may be going and leaving bad reviews. In all honesty, with the damage the person had done, the company may want distance from this person. They may tell their former coworkers, we don't want their name mentioned. If any of the customers ask, just as they moved on, say as little as possible. See, anytime somebody's fired, especially if it's somebody who's been there for a long time, they do want distance. Look at Tony Morris's situation. Last week, we all found out that he was no longer a governing body member. It took most of us off guard. We were all surprised. Now, it was all speculation at the time. Now, people said it couldn't have been bad. It may have been. Everything was on the up and up. But take a look what happened. The announcement didn't say much. As a matter of fact, that announcement has been removed. It is no longer there. And if they haven't done it already, they will be removing every picture, every article, every mention of Tony Morris out of their publications, out of their magazines. They're canceling them out completely. As a matter of fact, I understand that Caleb and Sophia, their version of Gumby, is going to disappear as well, which is no great loss anyways. But it looks to me that Watchtower wants some distance from Tony Morris. Let's face it, he's gotten a little bit harsh with some of his talks, with some of the things that he says, and I'm sure he's been spoken to more times about that. Lighten up. You're coming too bitter to the public. Now, if the public ever saw some of his talks, they'd be like, we want no part of this organization. So I'm sure he was spoken to more than once. That's kind of like Darrell Wheelberg being one of the governing body members, because he could actually be worse. But you have to wonder, is that the last one? Or are any more going to disappear? If you look back about 5 years, how many of them have actually given that organization a black eye? Let's go back to the Australian Royal Commission. Now, I was still in when I was following that. I was still a JW. I was fading, but I was still officially in. And we all know Jeffrey Jackson, Mr. Potato Head, lied through his teeth on the stand. But he also gave the organization a black eye with something he said. Now, if I can recall the exact wording, he didn't listen too well when he was asked by the prosecution. When he was asked, do you yourselves see yourselves as Jehovah God's spokesman people on earth? That is a simple yes or no question. Nothing else needs to be said. Yes, we do. He answered a question he wasn't even asked. When he was asked a question, he said, I think that would be quite presumptuous to think that we were the only spokespeople that God was using. He was never asked that. So by not listening to the question and answering another question totally, think of all the witnesses that were in that courtroom at that same time. How did they feel about it when they heard that? So by answering ignorantly, he gave the organization a black eye, but also lying through his teeth on the stand. But he did admit that the organization did have a child abuse problem. Simultaneously, in the United States, another governing body member, during the broadcast, referred to the child abuse problem as apostate-driven lies. So you had one guy admitting there was a child abuse problem, and another one who was calling it lies. And if you noticed, after he said that, he looked down and says, "We outright reject such lies." He couldn't even look at the camera when he said it. Now, Stephen Lett is a wee bit animated. He's not as harsh. He's not harsh at all. But let's face it. Why come out when the public knows full well that the organization does have a child abuse problem and come out and flat out deny it? So you have to wonder, are there going to be other governing body members removed? I mean, it was kind of odd last month that they installed 2 new members. And not to mention, some 4 or 5 years ago, Kenneth Cook. Did they really need them? Probably not. But they obviously knew at that time that something was going on, because it wasn't a few weeks, 3 weeks after, that the 2 new governing body members were installed, I don't even know their names, that Anthony Morris was removed. So I'm wondering if any others are going to be removed. Now, it's speculation, I know, but it looks awful kind of fishy. And we all know that these particular governing body members come across like real ass clowns. I just wanted to throw that out there, guys. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. Anyways, guys, you all have a good night. I will talk to you soon.